Hello YouTube. Recently, the Russian horror film Kola Super Deep, with the intriguing slogan "What hides in the deepest well in the world," it was released on the screens of the nation. The creators caught up with the horror and all sorts of evil spirits, which are successfully created in B-movies. To me, it was a B-movie. But they used in vain the name of one of the most amazing and ambitious Soviet scientific projects. I already presented my information about the Kola Super Deep borehole and what happened at the depth of more than 12 kilometers and on the surface. But I want to share views of one of the top scientists who was involved with the project. It is Alexander Davidovich Pisarnitsky, who has worked at the unique facility for more than 20 years, and he talked on the air of Komsomolskaya Pravda radio about the difficult fate of the Kola ultra deep or super deep well. I placed the link to my first video in the description to this one today. You may agree or not, but listen to what the Russian scientist said. There is too much BS on the internet about this project. At the same time, I do not trust everything the official scientific establishment promulgates. This scientist reveals very interesting information though. I'll translate, adding some comments regarding matters unfamiliar to foreigners, mostly about Soviet realities. Remember, when we address someone in Russian in a proper manner, and usually to adults, we use the first name and their paternal name. So I would be Pavel Borisovich, and Pisarnitsky Alexander Davidovich. At what point does the concept of ultra deep well begin? This was the question to him. Well, probably after 7 kilometers. I just came to the Kola Super Deep after graduating from the institute. The depth was then about 7,500 meters. I started as an assistant driller and left the post of chief engineer when they finished drilling to the mark of 12,262 meters, and the project was slowly and sadly curtailed. So all the main events took place before my eyes. They say that something more valuable than oil and gas, scientific information, was found at the Kola Ultra Deep at an exorbitant depth. How valuable were the results? The academician who was shown the results of drilling formulated as follows. The main thing we learn is that in reality we know nothing about the bowels of the earth and its structure. This is actually the case. For example, at the depth of about 3 kilometers, we dug up rocks that completely corresponded to the lunar soil in composition. Was this the first confirmation of the impact theory of the formation of the moon? It's hard for me to say. I am a driller, not an expert in the field of space science. But we were joking. The moon broke away from the Kola Peninsula, so it was possible not to fly to the moon for lunar soil. We had enough of this stuff at the well. Then, at the depth of about 10 kilometers, and previously this depth was considered to be dead, we found the remains of 14 species of fossilized ancient living organisms. Their age significantly exceeded the boundaries that were considered the starting point of the origin of life on Earth. We got to rocks that are about 4 billion years old, although the age of the Earth was considered to be less. During drilling of ultra-deep wells is compared to space flights in terms of technical complexity. Is it so? The bowels of the earth is the outer space under our feet, because no one really knows what's going on there at great depths. When we did the project for this well, it was assumed that the deeper we drill, the harder the rocks will be, because there are also extreme conditions at around 12 kilometers. The pressure is about 1,000 atmospheres. The temperature is 220 degrees Celsius. Everything turned out to be exactly the opposite. At exorbitant depths, loose rocks with a large number of voids began, which caused many accidents. When these layers were opened, They collapsed and pieces of rock grabbed the drilling tool. I had to climb higher, go to the side and drill a new trunk. I think we reached the depth of 12 kilometers 3 times. Therefore, the Kola ultra deep resembles the root of a tree, where the wells diverge to the sides at an angle to each other. In general, the scientific material obtained is priceless. I'm not talking about drilling technologies. Did you manage to get any material trophies during drilling? If we talk about practical results, we have discovered a nickel deposit where the Pichengan Nickel Works is still operating. We found gold at a depth of 9.5 kilometers. This does not mean that it can be extracted from there, but these rocks come to the surface somewhere. We just need to find them. But perhaps the most important material trophy is the live core material from the well. It is still stored in the cold storage facility in Yaroslavl, along with samples from other ultra-deep wells. In the USSR, there was a program of ultra-deep drilling. It consisted of 15 wells of different depths, but deeper than 6.57 kilometers. What is the value of this course? This is the geological record of the Earth for the last 4 billion years. What's the matter here? All studies that probe the deep structure of the Earth are based on a very simple system. A certain signal is sent, then the speed of the wave passing back and forth is recorded, and depending on how this rate changes, scientists make assumptions about the structure of the layers. Do you remember the pictures from geography textbooks where the globe is shown in the sections: mantle, core, crust? All these ideas were obtained in this way. And when you get a piece of a living rock from a living core from this layer, from the depth, you can see with your own eyes what kind of rock it is, what properties it has. And this, of course, is a completely different matter. Thanks to the study of our course, textbooks of geology were rewritten and scientific ideas about the age and structure of the Earth changed. Those who were somehow connected with the Kola Super Deep project speak about the regime of special secrecy. Why was the research classified? There didn't seem to be any military secrets or information of national importance there. How can I explain it to you? In the Soviet Union, a lot of things were classified for the most unexpected reasons. I think that in fact the Kola secret was kept because the government were just afraid of embarrassing themselves. The idea was grandiose, to get to the depth of 15 kilometers. What if we fail and we give the ideological opponent a reason to gloat? It was indicative how the Kola was declassified in 1982, when the International Geological Congress was held in Moscow, and colleagues from different countries of the world came to us for the first time. And by the time we reached the depth of 12 kilometers, it was already clear that a world drilling record has been set, and there was something to be proud of. Well, we decided that we could show the face of the product, so to say. And how did you get to the Kola? I asked for it myself during the job assignments at the Institute. And how did you find out about this secret project? My father worked here. They kept mostly the results of research secret. They wrote about the project itself in principle. I'll tell you an interesting story about the secrecy regime. It was probably the year 1980 when the Voice of America radio station made a big program about the Kola Super Deep and told a lot of interesting details about how the well is drilled, what depth, and all that. By the way, the presenters finished the program with a very unexpected conclusion. They said that the Russian drillers were very good fellows because they managed to drill to such a depth with absolutely unusable equipment. Here they were wrong, but nevertheless, after the program, comrades from the KGB came to us and began to find out where the information leak came from. But thank God, we had a museum at the Kola Super Deep facility where an employee collected all publications about us. As a result, people in uniform, the KGB, picked up publications and found out that the Voice of America had made a broadcast based on open sources. They just compared something, made the right conclusion somewhere, and the broadcast turned out to be full of factual material. Only after that day, the KGB left us alone. This is just one more proof that is enough for an intelligence officer to just read the newspapers carefully in order to get valuable and sometimes classified information. Question from the interviewer. I was also surprised that David Guberman, the brother of Igor Guberman, the author of the famous Gariki, who put it mildly did not favor the Soviet government, while the brother was appointed director of the Kola Super Deep. How was such an uncharacteristic for those times personnel decision was made? An aside, Igor Mironovich Guberman is a Russian writer and poet of Jewish ancestry. Since 1988 he resides in Israel. His poetry has received a great deal of acclaim, primarily because of his signature aphoristic and satiric quatrains about which he called Gariki in Russian, singular as Garik, which is also the diminutive form of the author's first name Igor. Response from Pisarnitsky. The fact is that Igor Mironovich began writing Gariki much later than David Mironovich became the head of the expedition, so to say. But when the poet's brother began various adventures with the Soviet government, like in 1979, Igor was arrested on a falsified charge and served 5 years in prison. The drilling brother also had problems. But we must pay tribute. The top leadership decided that the drilling of the Kola is more important, so David Guberman was left in the office. Did you know the work of Igor Guberman at the well, which project was directed by his brother? His Gariki, it was not published in those days, but successful quatrains, of course, became oral folk art. Moreover, our people were educated with a good outlook on life. Scientists mostly came to work from Moscow and St. Petersburg. The best of the best were invited to work at the well. When they recruited personnel to the drilling team, then we had a higher competition to work there than for admission to Moscow State University. 30 to 40 people per one opening. And people were recruited from all over the USSR. People always went to the north with pleasure to save up for a car and get back home to the moderate environment. Was the project closed due to lack of money or because they could not get deeper due to technical difficulties? No. With that level of technology development, we could reach a depth of 13 to 14 kilometers. Yes, there were difficulties, there were accidents that had to be eliminated, but nevertheless, at the time of stopping the project, we had a 9-kilometer deep borehole where it was possible to lower instruments, equipment, and do all kinds of research. And the annual maintenance of the Kola Super Deep, together with salaries, electricity, and other expenses, cost 5 million rubles. By the standards of the then Ministry of Natural Resources, it was pennies. But we could have kept the unique facility and could have maintained a small staff that provided the research program. And I was always outraged that even such a small thing could not be found for science funds. Do you know what's most offensive? What? The Germans also had their own program of ultra-deep drilling. By the way, before they started, they came to us to exchange experiences. They walked about 8,600 or 8,700 meters and stood. Still, they could not break through the design depth. So this drilling well has been turned into a museum. Tourists will go there and rare and are insanely proud of the achievements of the country in Germany. But this is a kindergarten compared to our results. Periodically, our officials say that they will create a tourist facility on the site of the Kola Ultra Deep. Is it possible? In the 1990s, when there were interruptions in financing, we ourselves tried to negotiate with travel companies. But there is the following problem. Firstly, the drilling rig is located in the border zone, close to other countries. Secondly, even worse, it is located on the territory of the Pechenga nickel plant. And since historically everything was stolen from the territory of the works, they put guards around and accordingly did not let anyone in. Getting there is physically difficult, and there is nothing to see there today. About 5 years ago, I was on the business trip to Murmansk, and my comrades and I decided to go and see what was going on there. This, I'll tell you, is like the ruins of Stalingrad. The most interesting thing is that the drilling rig was dismantled, all metal structures were handed over for scrap. There are only ruins of buildings left. You can't look without tears. What kind of tourist cluster would be there? Tell me, does this halo of mythology that has risen around this well, the well to hell, and the recent film about the monster from the underworld, all this adds up to the popularity of the Kola Super Deep? As for the devils and the screams of sinners, which are regularly written about, a very funny story happened there. It all started with the fact that a Finnish, from Finland, youth newspaper published such an article as a joke for April 1 Fool's Day. Then some of our publications reprinted it in all seriousness, and the process, as they say, went on. The story began to mushroom on the pages of the media and acquire more and more ridiculous details. It came to the point that guys who were engaged in the study of paranormal phenomena came to us from the Baltic states. It was in the summer, I was the acting director, and they came straight to me with the question, "Have you seen the devils?" I explained to them in the spirit that if we found the devilry, we would not hide it, because it is such a scientific discovery that you will not get off with just the Nobel Prize if you make a discovery. I allowed them to talk to our guys, look for devils on the drilling rig, and in the end they just left sad. No evil spirits were discovered or found. And as for the film, this is pure speculation. Here the Kola Super Deep is simply far-fetched. I do not like such things. Tell me, the Kola record, when will it be broken? Do people even have a desire to climb, to go down to such depths? With the Kola Super Deep, the situation is like the old joke about the Cowboy Joe, whom no one could catch because no one needed him. Because a private company will not drill such a well. It doesn't need it. It can only be drilled by the state for purely scientific purposes. But neither Russia nor Western states show much interest in this project. It is too expensive and the benefits are not obvious. We sometimes scold the Soviet Union for its fascination with gigantomania, great but meaningless construction projects. However, it turns out that if it were not for this period in our history, many things would simply never have been realized. Unfortunately, it is customary for us. If we scold something, then we scold it to the end. In the Soviet Union, of course, there were a lot of bad things. What can I say there? But there were a lot of good things, including the Kola Super Deep. But our country is so organized that we rarely evaluate our past objectively. So there you go, my YouTube audience. I think the real answers are located in the live core material from the well that are stored in the core storage facility in Yaroslavl. Maybe one day we will learn more, and I'll try to bring you more fascinating materials about such projects from the Soviet history, because this scientist is an honest person and he shares what he knows. But he did not have the access, complete top-level access, and there were a lot of projects in the Soviet Union that demanded such access. And of course, due to his ethnicity, he would not be allowed such access. What can I say? I will tell you more about the projects that I have been able to find out from open sources. Very interesting projects. You can only imagine the projects that are never featured or advertised in the open sources. but even what I'll tell you will fascinate you. So please stay tuned. Please support my research if you can through the links you will find in the description to this video. Please like my video, please subscribe to my channel and tell others. Thank you.